On today's show, the Houston Rockets hold on for the win against the New York Knicks. Aaron Holiday with a huge spark off of the Rockets bench and the beneficiary of a pretty questionable foul call at the end of the game. We're also going to talk about the Rockets getting back to their defensive identity in this one, plus some of the commentary from Rockets general manager Rafael Stone after the NBA trade deadline. It's all coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
Throw it up to Jalen Green.
Sengun here in the short row. Oh, my, that's the no-look.
Jabari for three and the win. Yeah!
Look at Tari, Eason.
Here comes Tari.
No!
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
The Houston Rockets select Thompson and Cam Whitmore.
One thing I have never done is not made the playoffs, and so we want to take that step here as well.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for being an everydayer and making the show part of your day every single day. Joining us now to break down the Houston Rockets 105-103 win, holding on for the win against the New York Knicks, is none other than your weekly co-host, NBA draft enthusiast and diehard Rockets fan, Madison Moore. You can track down on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. Madison, this was a helter-skelter, really kind of insane game, some insane closes to the second half going into halftime, and then an insane close to regulation in this one, the Rockets managing to hold on for the win. Let's get into that final sequence here that essentially won the Rockets this game. And I want to start right there with the foul call on Jalen Brunson with 0.3 seconds left, whatever it was. Aaron Holiday recovers the loose ball, throws up a heave, and then Jalen Brunson gets called for the foul. How are we feeling about that as the end to this game?
Man, if you're a Rockets fan and you went through all the game winners by free throws last year, we were due. We were due. This is the universe paying us back. We were due, and he was touched. And if you remember that Eric Gordon sequence, if you can remember
against the Kings, against
the Kings, like, bro, we've been on the other end of this, and it's nice. It's nice to finally get one ourselves. But kudos, the game was more than just that last play at the end of the game. The Rockets played actually an excellent game. They got back to their defensive roots, and I really just enjoyed this game a lot. This was one of the more fun games I've watched this season.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna unpack some more from this game. Now that final possession, I said it on social media already. I'm gonna echo the sentiment here on the show. The Rockets were due. They've been screwed by the refs a lot. This is kind of their karmic retribution. They get one back from all the times that they've been screwed. Think about like the KD out of bounds call, the James Harden dunk gate, like all the stuff we've been through with the refs over the years. That said, this call sucked. Like if this call had gone against the Rockets, I would be so pissed. I would be irate. I'd be burning things down. Like, this is one of those, I hate when the refs decide that they're going to be the ones to decide a game, right? When they make themselves the headlines. And that's why I try to stay consistent, right? I try to just call out what I think is bad refereeing, whether it is in favor of the Rockets or against the Rockets. And here, like, I get it. If you're a Knicks fan, you got to be upset with how this game ended. Yes, it was contact. Yes, it was technically a foul, but to call that foul at that point in the game, all things tied up at 103, Aaron Holiday gets sent to the free throw line with 3 chances to put the game away, hits the first 2, intentionally misses the final free throw as per Ime Udoka's instructions, and that basically seals the game for the Rockets. It's unfortunate that it ended that way, because this was a really fun game outside of that kind of crappy, like, officiating decided ending. A lot of back and forth. And to your point, the Rockets, I really felt like, got back to their defensive roots and defensive identity in this game after what looked like it was going to be the Dante DiVincenzo show. After the first few minutes of this game, he hit his first 3-3-pointers and then proceeded to go, hang on, if I'm doing the math here correctly, 2 of 11 the rest of the way from downtown. So he hit his first 3 threes and then went 2 of 11 the rest of the game. They also managed to hold Jalen Brunson just under his season average, because I believe he's averaging a little more than 27 a game right now. So he had 27 points in this game, but only on 10 of 25 shooting. So only 40% shooting from the floor for Brunson. Really liked the collective effort on him. A lot of the defensive possessions by Dillon Brooks, as well as Amin Thompson. I really felt like Amin's length absolutely bothered Jalen Brunson in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear game plan that we were not going to let Jalen Brunson go off on us tonight. I thought Dillon did a very good job establishing the physicality that the entire Rockets team play with. He was very physical with Brunson, and Brunson is a very physical player, but Dillon is much bigger and is gonna initiate a lot of that physicality, and that physicality was just what we needed to get under Brunson's skin. I mean, I feel like Brunson hit the floor about 30 times tonight, man. It was just that level of physicality, and I like that we smartly doubled on a lot of plays, like out off his blind side. Amin was the recipient of a lot of steals off the blind side doubling and using his length and quick hands to knock the ball out. But I felt like everybody played well defensively tonight for the most part, outside of rebounding. I thought the players were active. They were playing towards the game plan. And Dillon, I want to give Dillon his flowers, because especially in the first half, Dillon really did a number on Jalen Brunson. But the team effort and the way Amin Thompson played at the top of the fourth and in that third defensively was absolutely special. I mean, that dude, he has all NBA, all defensive team, upside. He might be kind of close there now, you know what I mean, given these type of efforts defensively and also on the boards, defensive and offensive rebounding. So I really want to just give Amin his flowers. He doesn't have as many on-ball reps as we will hope, but he's still able to make a huge impact on the floor. He was a big part of that run in the top of the fourth with all those steals.
It's crazy watching Amin Thompson find so many different ways to impact the game, to where you're watching how effective he is right now as a rookie. Again, only 5 shot attempts. He was 4 or 5 from the floor. He had 8 points. He had 5 assists, 5 steals. Like, well, first off, Amin Thompson's going to get a 5x5 at some point in his career. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But then a team high 13 rebounds, right? Just finding ways to be effective, whether it's on the defensive glass, closing out defensive possessions strong, or generating those extra opportunities for the Rockets on the offensive side of things. Even though we know Amin Thompson's probably going to need to develop a shot at some point in his career, I'm almost at a point where it's like, and I know this is early, it's still his rookie season, but just seeing all the ways that he's able to impact the game, all the good things that happen when he's on the floor, I feel like Amin Thompson might be one of those rare NBA players that can still be a good high caliber player without an outside shot. Like, as long as he develops like some kind of a reliable midi/floater game to keep defenses semi-honest, he's going to be just fine in his career. And to your point about the defensive effort in this game, I really loved how aggressive we saw Alperen and Sengun in this game, and I don't know if that's just by design or what, but we saw Sengun actually like blitzing and trapping and doubling on the perimeter at points in this game. And hey, what do you know? It actually looked pretty good when they did it. I don't know why they don't do it more often, man.
We were doing it early in the season. Yeah. I don't know why we kind of got away from it. I mean, and that's when the defense fell off. I mean, you know what I mean? So we definitely got to get back to that. I mean, we got to have a helping defense where everybody helps, but we got to blitz. And that blitzing gets us out in the passing lanes. Everybody is smart enough to now read what the defense is trying to do, and it gets our young guys out and running, and they need to get out and running and into rhythm. Like, just for example, Jaylen Green did not have a great game tonight, but compared to some of his other off nights where he's just could be an albatross at sometimes. He got out in transition. He got to the line. He was able to get some easy buckets that kind of helped us in this game. And he also
it was a good off night for Jaylen Green.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good bad
process
game.
looked good. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But that goes because of our defense. Our defense turning into offense, able to make not everything has to be so hard, especially with a very good defensive team in this New York Knicks team. So I just want to give the entire team kudos today because spearheaded by Dillon and Amon, but everybody contributed in a major way.
Coming up, we're going to shift gears to the offensive side of things from this game. Talk about the process there for the Rockets, what we'd like to see maybe change a little bit, some things that need some improvement, even though they were able to sneak out the win in this one, some process things that have to change going forward. We're going to get there in just one moment, as well as comments from Rafael Stone's post-NBA trade deadline press conference. We'll get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. They're the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. It's so simple to play. You can make your picks and submit an entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of different players and stat types is what makes Prize Picks the #1 DFS app on the market. And here's the really cool thing. It is now demon time on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play at Prize Picks. So if you've been thinking about getting into daily fantasy sports, give Prize Picks a chance. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Promo code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, I think, Madison, we have to give Locked On Rockets player to this one guy whose game really ignited the Rockets in this one, specifically not the first poster of his career, yet another poster from one Aaron Holiday dunking all over 3 different Knicks in this one. That dunk at the top of the fourth quarter really felt like it kind of ignited the Rockets' ability to close this game out, gave them a lot of juice, a lot of fire there at the top of the fourth quarter. Loved what we saw from Aaron Holiday in this game. 18 points, 7 of 14 shooting. He was, for all intents and purposes, basically all of the Rockets' bench production in this one.
Right. All of it. Yeah, no, Aaron had an excellent game. Second excellent game in a row, man. He had a really strong game the other night against the Atlanta Hawks. Once again, and he earned the right to close this game, and he closed it well with those free throws. But I just want to talk about our defense was so effective at the top of that fourth quarter, but we really have struggled, especially without Alperen, Sengun, and Jalen Green in to score in the half court or just to generate really good looks. And Aaron Holiday really took over at the top of the fourth. And it was really good to see someone else kind of run the offense and be able to get a bucket and that you can rely on. I think it was the type of run that we needed. We kind of have been playing the Knicks at the top of the first half. The Knicks had gotten back into this game, and it was a defensive slugfest the entire time, but we couldn't get any generation of a lot of buckets in a row, and Aaron Holiday did that at the top of the fourth, and really that's what propelled us to win this game. So I got to give kudos to him for not just tonight, but last night keeping us in the game until he unfortunately he didn't get to close the other night against Atlanta. But this night he closed and he made the free throws, and I just want to give him his credit for that.
Yeah, Aaron Holiday is a guy that I think a lot of Rockets fans have like a mixed perception of him, where it's like some Rockets fans going into the deadline, they were like, we got to get rid of Holiday. We can't keep giving him these minutes. And, he had maybe hit a little bit of a rough stretch where he was playing, below, or maybe, let me put it this way. I think he was playing above, like beyond his level, like earlier this season, and then he kind of regressed back to the mean a little bit. Got to keep in mind, Aaron Holiday is like a journeyman kind of NBA player, third string point guard kind of guy. He's basically a 3-and-D undersized 2 guard is what he is for his career. So to get that kind of production from him, that's huge. That's Aaron Holiday playing well beyond what he should be able to do on a nightly basis. So him stepping up to the plate, kind of next man up mentality, being able to help fill that void with Fred VanVleet out of the lineup until the return from All-Star break, at least that's the update that we got from the Rockets before this game against the Knicks. So shout out to Aaron Holiday. Would not have been able to win this game without him. And like Ime Udoka is often is prone to do, right? Riding the hot hand, giving the guys who deserve the chance to close, who kind of kept the Rockets in this game. He kept Aaron Holiday out there. He had a very strong game. Offensively from this one, Madison, it was an ugly game. It was. This was not one of the better offensive performances of the season for the Rockets. Thankfully, they were able to generate, some second chance opportunities. They had 12 offensive rebounds in this game, even though they got absolutely crushed on the boards overall. A 51-39 rebound advantage for the Knicks, including the Knicks having 19 of their own offensive rebounds. That offensive rebounding did help the Rockets kind of stay in this game a little bit. They also did a pretty good job taking care of the basketball. Only 3 turnovers in the first half. Now, then they did have 6 turnovers there in that third quarter where the Knicks went up 28-17. That 28-17 third quarter in favor of the Knicks, I should say. I really hate when we see these games where, and again, this is one of those side effects of not having Fred VanVleet out there. Alperen Sengun felt like an afterthought for so much of this game. And it's because nobody on this team knows how to make an entry pass to him. Nobody on this team can hit him on the short roll, other than Fred VanVleet, apparently. We've seen Jaylen do it sometimes, but not, he's not getting to him enough. And it's just ridiculous the number of possessions that we see where this team almost forgets that he's their best player. And thankfully, down the line, we did see Ime Udoka go to a steady diet of Alperen Sengun post-ups. In fact, that the last offensive possession of the game, when it was tied up 103 all, was supposed to be an inbound pass to Alperen Sengun. The Knicks double-teamed it, and then they wound up sending the pass cross-court to Jalen Green, who drove and unfortunately was blocked right there at the rim, and that's when the loose ball made its way all the way out to Aaron Holiday. He had the heave, and that's all she wrote. Gets fouled, knocks the free throws down, and that's the end of the game. But they've got to figure out better ways, whether maybe it needs to be more creativity from the coaching staff in finding ways to get Alperen Sengun the basketball. But you cannot let your best player be that easily schemed out of a game. It's unacceptable. It can't happen.
Yes. So for me, I think tonight, Alperen Sengun touched the ball a lot because he's the guy in the middle where either you're Jalen or your Dillon Brooks or your Aaron Holiday, you're giving it to Alperen Sengun, and everybody rolls off those screens at the top of the key.
The little 3-man weave action.
The little 3-man weave, but the core of that is LP. He can either take it himself, which we know he's able to do, and he did a lot down the stretch, or he can hand off to the weave and roll, right? And with his gravity, you have a choice. Now, the Knicks did a very good job of overloading in the paint tonight. And because we're such a poor three-point shooting team, we did not make them pay. And that is why LP is not getting the looks he needs to get, because the paint is just packed to the rim. There was several times where LP had the ball down low and there was 4 guys on him and he had to kick it out to a shooter, right? He's not able to get the attempts up because teams are triple and quadruple teaming him down there. They're overloading on those on the paint because they know he's our best player. And this is what happens when you're number 1 on the scouting report. So LP is learning now the things that he needs to improve on so that he can still continue to contribute at that rate when they take away your strength and by packing the paint. And so that's why he needs to add the jump shot so he can bring some of these guys out the paint. And these are the things I'm talking about, because there was a lot of possessions where we did try and get LP the ball and he drew a triple team and he kicked out to a shooter, and the only person who could make a 3-point shot tonight was Dillon Brooks, right? And so that is, I think, the crux of the offense right now. Teams have kind of figured us out offensively. Alperen Sengun is not surprising people anymore. And so now it's time for us to, yes, get more creative from the coaching staff, but also our players have to be better. Jalen has to be able to score on the pick and roll if they're going to stay with Alperen Sengun. He has to be able to slash through. But they're just overloading the paint. Jalen didn't have the midi going tonight, and so it was very much a struggle. So that's what I see going on.
Yeah, and I do think, and I commented on this at one point during the game, I do think the next kind of evolution for Alp is he needs to be a little bit quicker at recognizing when those double and triple teams are coming his way, because he is number 1 on the scouting report. He's the guy that opposing teams are constantly scheming against. You're starting to see, his effectiveness be diminished a little bit, just in the sense of, like, again, I think without having Fred out there to kind of slow things down and make sure that he gets the basketball either, on the short roll or with space to operate. Yeah, it can be really difficult for him. And he's still a bucket when you can get him the ball, right? We saw him, go right at the Knicks late in this game, some really strong possessions late in this one that led to Dillon Brooks 3-pointer, Alpi scoring right there at the rim on Precious Achiuwa. So I'm glad that Ime Udoka still recognized, hey, this is crunch time. We got to get our best guy the ball. It seems like a failing throughout the first 3.5 quarters.
The entire game.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Like 10 shot attempts for your best player. Just that doesn't seem like it shouldn't happen. Now elsewhere in this game, you got to give credit to Dillon Brooks, because I'm so torn on this game, Madison, because this was it feels like a little bit of the Memphis Dillon Brooks experience, where he's taking over the offensive burden.
The last 2 games.
Dillon Brooks is so much like the epitome of the no yes type player, where you're watching the process go down and you're just oh, that's a badger. Oh, it went in. Okay, all right, we'll take it. And so 6 of 7 from 3 in this game. You'll live with Dillon Brooks on fire from 3-point land in this game. 23 points on the evening. He had 5 boards. He had an assist. He had the great defense on Jalen Brunson kind of throughout the evening. But before we transition here into our final segment and tackle some of the commentary from Rafael Stone, I'm curious. I want your thoughts. Better pass in this game, or just better overall play? The Amin Thompson to Jalen Green lob in transition, which was insane. Amin Thompson gets the steal, gets out in transition. He locks eyes with Jalen, and he knows, Jalen is ready for this lob. They make eye contact, and Amin drives it towards the middle, draws that second defender, and then puts it up. Jalen hammers it home. Or the Amin Thompson, no look, eyes in the back of his head pass, little shovel pass over his head to Alperen Sengun. Which one's the better play?
Definitely the Alperen Sengun pass. I mean, it was like an offensive rebound too, and it kind of looked like he didn't know what he was doing, erratic, but it was just a crazy pass, and it led to the dunk. Yeah, no, definitely that one. I mean, we could see the alley-oop developing, but nobody saw that pass coming from our man. And usually Sengun's the only guy who can make those passes.
Coming from Alperen,
because they're the only two who make those type of passes. But it's good to have them on the team.
Speaking of, I want to give credit to, there was one play late in this game where the one where I can't remember when it was late in the game. Dillon Brooks hit the wing, or the kind of corner wing 3-pointer. He was wide open. It was off of a bit of a scattered play, and
it was a tip or something. It swung. It was like a reversal.
All I know is Jalen had walked the ball up at first, and Alpi had the seal down low, and then Jalen pitched it over to Amin Thompson, who had just entered the frame. And because nobody was out on Dillon Brooks, as soon as Amin touched the ball, Alpi pointed out to the perimeter as if to say, get Dillon the ball. And it was just one of those moments where you're Alpi's so smart. He just knows where everybody is on the court at all times. And so even though he had a deep seal on his man, he was no, I'm not the right play here. That's the right play on the perimeter. And he pointed out to DB, and I think Amin swung the ball to him. He hits the wide open 3. Or it was either Amin or Jalen swung the ball to him, and it was a wide open 3. It was a big make for the Rockets. So,
and let me at this, because Alpi also had a ridiculous touch pass to Tate that he missed the layup on.
That's right.
That thing was crazy. That one might have been better than Amin's. That thing, because I was Jesus, it was so quick. But yeah, Alpi is definitely seeing things that only he can see on the floor, and Amin's a step right behind him. So it's really good to see that. But the team did move the ball well. If we could just keep Dillon away from isolations, if we could just keep him away, if it's a catch and shoot, he's money, dog. We just got to keep him away from the isolations.
Yeah, 22 assists on 36 made shots for the Rockets. Again, Dillon Brooks ISOs are decidedly not. Look, he can ISO when he has a smaller defender on him and you get him on a post up. Those are the only Dillon Brooks ISOs we want to see. Aside from that, every other Dillon Brooks isolation play needs to be 86th from the Rockets playbook expeditiously. But coming up, we're going to get into some of the post-NBA trade deadline commentary from Houston Rockets general manager Rafael Stone. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased when it comes to your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking the same thing this week. And Honestly, it's got to be NBA officiating drives me crazy. I just want consistent officiating. That's all I want. And especially even after this game, talking about the questionable call on Aaron Holiday. Look, it helped the Rockets. I'm here for it. They have been on the bad side of some horrendous officiating in the past. But at the end of the day, I would love it if the NBA could just figure out their officiating issue. But in all seriousness, maybe there is something important that you want to talk to somebody about that's going on in your life, and therapy can help you with that. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than just our favorite sports team or frustrations with the officiating crews, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, Madison, we just passed the NBA trade deadline. I shared my thoughts. I did my reaction to the deadline. Go ahead and hit us with some of your thoughts about the fact that the Rockets didn't, aside from the Steven Adams trade that they made, before the NBA trade deadline, they didn't make any other subsequent moves. So give me your thoughts right now about where this team is at, the fact that they didn't make any trade deadline moves aside from the Steven Adams deal.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed. I mean, it's clear that this team needed help up front, and they needed a different skill set other than the ones that we have. Right now, we have Alperen Sengun is the only traditional big we have, and he's undersized, and defense is not his strength, especially in the pick and roll. Outside of Alperen Sengun, Jock Landale was supposed to be the other traditional big, but it's clear that he hasn't worked out. Now, okay, that's fine. Sometimes your signings don't work out. We struck gold with Aaron Holiday. We struck gold with Jeff Green. These guys are contributing more than what we thought, but we did not with Jock Landale. He's underperformed. So we need another player, another guy with size. Rebounding has been an issue. Rim protection has been an issue. We needed that at the deadline and hopefully in the buyout market. And I was really disappointed to see us not just spend a second to go get a backup big. Like those guys were going for 1 and 2 seconds. I thought we could probably get one on the cheap. We could probably use Jae'Sean to go get a guy. Now I understand Rafael and many have reported about this Rockets plan to keep salaries so they can go after a big star, but I think you still should be able to add something to this team that can help them now. They could have went and got Biyombo on the market. Now he's gone, and that offered toughness, defense, screening. Giving this team another body that they could throw out there to go out there and get boards when they're struggling to get boards. I was really disappointed in the Rockets not getting that. The shooter, fine. We'll get healthy. Guys need to shoot better regardless. I was fine with not getting a shooter, but I really was disappointed that we did not go get a big for this team.
And it's worth noting, and I should have included this in our trade deadline preview. My apologies for not doing so, but the Rockets also had available to them their room level exception, which means they could have gone out there and signed a guy like Bismack Biyombo and paid him more than any of the other teams that are out there that don't have access to their room level exception, right? That only have access to a vet minimum contract. So even if there's maybe a slightly more desirable location, a team that might be, making a deeper postseason run or have legit title aspirations this year, fine. You're going to lose out on some guys in the buyout market to a team like that, like Biyombo signing with the OKC Thunder. But you can also make a play for a guy who wants more money, and you can be aggressive with that room level exception. So TBD on whether or not the Rockets actually pick up a name via the buyout market. They would still have to waive somebody on this roster to be able to make space to allow that to happen. I'm not going to hold my breath. I don't have a lot of confidence that they are going to do that, but it is what it is. I myself was also disappointed with the trade deadline, but some of the thoughts from Houston Rockets general manager Rafael Stone, some updates on the trade deadline that the Rockets did have and the stuff that they did do. Steven Adams is apparently, the surgery went well for Steven Adams. He is ahead of schedule as far as his rehab is concerned. He did pass his physical with flying colors, and they do anticipate him being ready for the start of next season. Now, Stone did also go on to say that he's really excited about the addition of Steven Adams, basically saying that they have 2 starting level centers on the roster now, and that kind of matches with how we felt about the deal when it first went through, right? Steven Adams, for what it cost, for what you got for him, he's a phenomenal backup big to have on the roster. Now, again, that's a long-term play. That's a play for next season. It doesn't help the Rockets much right now, but if everything goes according to plan, having Steven Adams on next year's roster is going to be huge because that is the answer to the backup 5 spot, right? If you have 34 minutes a night of Alperen Sengun, 34, 36, 38 minutes of Sengun, and then the other, 15-ish or so minutes go to Steven Adams, that is a huge 1-2 punch at the 5 spot that's going to be a lot for other teams to deal with.
Yeah, no, I really like the Steven Adams pickup. I don't think he's as seamless a fit to play next to Sengun, but definitely off the bench, he's going to be the best backup center in the league, and he'll bring that toughness that we need. He'll bring more of the intangibles and leadership that we need. I believe him, Dillon, and Fred VanVleet would just be the ultimate set of vets for this young team that needs to add toughness, that needs to add muscle, that needs to, add accountability. I think that is the Rockets have really addressed that in a real way with all of the vets that they got. And so, yeah, I like Steven Adams a lot. Would have liked more of a lob threat type guy that could catch lobs, but Steven Adams is a very good pickup. Lob threat. I know who you're saying.
I was looking for it.
Lob threat.
I pressed the wrong button. I
can see the lob threat on your face.
Oh, I tried to go for my lob threat button, but the problem is on my little soundboard, I've got like 8 little buttons, and I was on the wrong page. And the problem is the button that I clicked is actually my Locked On NBA interlude music, the same way that I've got like the break music for LOR. Like I've got that for Locked On NBA also. So I smashed it. I was like, that's not it. Oops. All right. Sorry for the technical difficulties there, everybody, but that was supposed to be a lob threat button.
Lob threat.
Yeah, look, it is what it is. Rockets didn't add a guy that can help this season. Rafael Stone did say that he and Ime Udoka looked at a lot of, basically every possible deal that was out there together. And they both came to the conclusion that there just wasn't a deal out there that they liked, that they thought could help the team right now. I guess we just take them at face value. We agree, we saw some of the role players that were moved at the deadline. I'm not disheartened or upset at any of the names that were moved. Daniel Gafford was the guy that we talked about here quite a bit as a potential backup, but it also cost a first-round draft pick to get Daniel Gafford, right? Like, do you want to give up the Rockets? The only first-round draft pick the Rockets have to work with is the 2024 Nets pick. I don't think Daniel Gafford is worth that. So I'm not going to lose any sleep over the lack of moves at the deadline. I'm just going to take them at face value. There wasn't enough out there for them to go all in on something. I like the Steven Adams play. It's a smart long-term move. It'll help them next season. Plus, just the way this team is kind of playing as of late. Yeah, it's nice that they got this win against the Knicks. The play-in tournament looks to be a further out, longer shot at this point anyways of making the play-in tournament. It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate reality to have to face. I don't necessarily feel like the Rockets are going to make the play-in tournament ultimately unless they can really get healthy post-All-Star break, get Fred VanVleet back, get Tari Eason back. Maybe they make a significant push with those two guys back in the fold. But this season is still, I think, they've...
May struggle.
I want to say they've exceeded expectations still for this season. I think based on where we had our expectations set for the year, play-in tournament would have been incredible. That would have been a huge resounding success if that had happened. Yeah. I predicted about 35 wins. I think they're still kind of on pace for 35 wins. They might still miss out on the play-in tournament. It's okay. It is what it is. The team is still ahead of schedule.
Yes, I think I don't know about a play-in would be ahead. But I think that the jury's still out.
Maybe on schedule. Then
we're on schedule, and that's a really good thing. Like we're on schedule. Guys are getting better. We're seeing what guys' weaknesses are. We're understanding our team more. Guys know what they need to work on in the offseason. I think we're right on schedule. So I think that's a good thing.
And look, the back half of the season. First off, I hate that we always say the back half of the season after All-Star break when it's really like the back 1/3. But whatever. Back half of the season post All-Star break, it's going to be a lot of fun just watching the Rockets young core 6 have another half season to grow and gel and develop together. Maybe we even see a reduction in usage from guys like Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks as Ime Udoka gives more runtime, more playing time to some of the younger guys to just see which versions of those 6 guys can work really well playing off of one another, that kind of thing. Maybe at some point we'll see a full-blown 5-man lineup with just 5 of the Rockets core 6, which would be a ton of fun to watch in live action. But the final quote here that we're going to unpack from Rafael Stone is the one that's been doing numbers on social media. It's the one that has Rockets fans in a bit of a tizzy, if you will. So we had to address it here on the show. Rafael Stone discussing Jalen Green and his growth to this point. He said, Jalen has been and continues to be on paper a great fit with us. He has a skill set that isn't really replicated on our roster. Now, the reason this quote is doing numbers is because Rafael Stone's word choice, maybe not the best, given how this season has gone for Jalen Green. To say on paper is pretty rough. That's not a great, I don't know.
It's pretty accurate. I think that it's accurate.
But it's like saying the quiet part out loud, man. You don't have to say the on paper part. So I don't know if that was just like a verbal gaffe by Rafael Stone, who's usually right. In all his pressers and availabilities, he's very like lawyerly in how he talks, right? He tries to say a lot without really saying anything. And this was one where you're like, ooh, like on paper, you didn't have to say that about your young guy, man.
I don't know, man. Maybe I just don't hear the, like, to me, stuff like that don't faze me. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm different or something, but like stuff like that don't faze me. I think he was trying to say the quiet part out loud, and he did. And Jalen Green knows that he hasn't lived up to par this season, and he's still working on it. Now he's played better as of late, and that's really good. That's the step we want to see, and Rafael talked about that. But we know the theory of Jalen Green is not going to win us games, right? He actually has to get better and become the guy he's supposed to be on paper. And I think more importantly, Rafael said something very important to me, and it's how I've kind of felt about Jalen through his struggles. It's like, but Jalen still offers something that nobody else on the team really offers, and that's that ability to be an off-ball, on-ball primary ball handler who can also make plays. That's not Fred VanVleet or Alperen Sengun, right? A guard that offers a different dynamic to this offense that nobody really can do right now. I mean, Cam is such an electric scorer, but he doesn't make plays to help other guys get better at the same rate as Jalen, and that's what he's going to have to do if he wants to, surpass him. So I thought what he said was honestly just real. Like that's just the real deal, and I think you don't say stuff like that unless you've had those conversations behind doors with Jalen, right? I think everybody knows we're on the same page. And I think he was saying, hey, he's not there yet, but we understand that he can get there, and we still respect his skill set. And that's a skill set that is very important to this team. But in order for it to be actual, you can't just be on paper. You got to deliver. So I didn't think it was that big a deal, but you know how Rockets Twitter going to be.
Of course, right? Of course. We're overreacting to everything. But hey, look, first off, just the fact that the Rockets didn't make any major moves to shake things up at the deadline, the fact that they didn't trade Jalen Green or try to make something happen as far as a Jalen Green trade is concerned, when I'm sure that they fielded some phone calls on it. It sounds like they themselves were doing their due diligence and reaching out to some teams and maybe seeing about what they could get for Jalen Green. The fact that they decided to keep the core six together, it just tells me that they understand that they're not trying to rush things here, that they've still got a lot of young talent, that they've got an exciting future. And I think my camera just froze. That's really impressive. That's really cool. No, that's really cool. We're just gonna keep going with me frozen here at the end. So it is what it is. They didn't move on from Jalen Green. They didn't move on from any of the young guys. So they're giving them the remainder of this year to see what they have with this young core. But on that note, I want your thoughts on Rafael Stone's comments, specifically also the Jalen Green one. How do you feel about the on-paper comment, as well as how do you feel about the Rockets getting away with one here against the Knicks, the questionable call at the end of regulation? Let us know your thoughts in the YouTube comments. But Madison, you know the drill. Say it to my frozen face. Where can everybody track you down at?
Man, track me down on Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter X, at Madman Leaks. Come talk Rockets basketball with me.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts, or on YouTube, just search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.